We all take that one funny, high-pitched voice to talk to our dogs, but why? And how does it affect them? And how does it affect us? Is there more to it than just a funny, high-pitched voice?
Did you and your dog develop a private secret language? I spent days researching the internet, reading papers, and observing my dog to find out more about man's best friend and language. But first, what do they really understand?
So, we've been good friends for what? Almost 10 years? I feel like we understand each other pretty well, right?
Meh, it's easy to assume that dogs have a human-like consciousness and understand speech. It's actually called anthropomorphizing. But the reality is that they don't perceive speech the way we do.
Door open? No. Outside? Cold.
They can understand some words, but they have a very hard time putting ideas together. But I was stunned to find out that they don't just understand the first syllable of a word as I was brought up to think, but they can actually understand the full word. They can make the difference between bowl and bone that start with the same B. But that's not where the biggest limit is. It's not understanding the words that's the limit.
Hi. Do you feel like you're having a good life? Where do you see yourself in a year?
What matters most is the meaning. Dogs just can't understand human concepts like freedom or simple time things like tomorrow or last year. Their working memory is also much shorter than what most owners believe.
Hey, I just fed you.
So they have a better time understanding simple and concrete concepts, although they can understand concepts like inside or outside and good or bad, which is already pretty impressive. But that is not where their genius lies. To quote Albert Einstein, everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. Can we stop for a second and realize how dogs are geniuses? Not at climbing trees, but at swimming. Dogs understand when we do this. They understand that. Pointing. They understand that when we're pointing at something, we're showing something that is in the prolongation of our arm and finger. Something that monkeys or apes don't understand. Dogs also look at you in the eye when you're talking to them. And that's something that's pretty unique in the animal kingdom. I mean, maybe other animals can do that, but dogs do it consistently.
Ah, mais depuis tout à l'heure, tu le comprenais pas parce que je parlais anglais. Toi, t'es un chien français, tu comprends le français, toi?
A recent study showed that dogs had the ability to tell if a language they were hearing was of their owners or not. Pretty cool. But get this, to come to this result, they trained dogs to hold still in an MRI machine, which is a very loud scanner. It's not a dog-friendly environment. They were able to hold still while hearing languages, different languages, some of their owners and some in a foreign language for their owner, and they saw through the brain scans that they could tell when it was their owner's language or a foreign language for their owner.
Let me just...
And this result was consistent across dogs, across the different dog participants, though some breeds performed better than others, specifically dogs that were meant for herding, that were trained to herd historically. They perform better at that test. That's an impressive ability for dogs, but that doesn't mean that language is their primary mode of communication. If you look at a dog, I mean, if you've ever told your dog that it was ugly or just mean, stupid stuff in a cute voice, just to make fun of your dog, you understand what I mean. Dogs primarily communicate through voice tone, body language, and other non-speech stuff. Hey, we get it. Why do we even talk to dogs then? It's not like they could answer us. They don't have the brain, nor the mouth or the tongue to do that. There are a few logical reasons. Stick around to find out. Dogs' memory isn't the best. They have a hard time converting short-term memory to long-term memory. If you want to train a dog and make them remember something, a command or an order, you have to make it very emotionally charged so that they can be more engaged. And you have to use repetition, a lot of repetition. Guess what ticks both of those checkboxes? Dog-directed voice. This dog-directed voice is higher pitched, It has more emotions in it. It also has a very high pitch range, so it really catches the dog attention.
Who's the cutest? Who's the best dog ever?
It's more exaggerated. It's just made simpler and a bit dumber,
You're the best dog. Ooh.
if you know what I mean. It uses a lot of rhetorical questions in terms of what you're saying and statements of affection. And it's kind of like if you could loop it forever. You can just say a string of words and do variations of them and just talk like that for a few minutes. The information contained can just be random. It doesn't have to be anything specific, but it has to sound somewhat affectionate. And it also generally has a lot of the dog's buzzwords, like their name, good, cute, or the word that you're trying to teach the dog, or the order.
Sit. Yes!
This dog voice is really something that we see across cultures. In 2017, a team of researchers showed people aged from 17 to 54 some photos of dogs ranging from puppies to older dogs. And they were told to say those lines while watching the pictures.
Hi. Hello, cutie. Who's a good boy? Come here.
Hey,
Good
Luca.
boy. Yes. Come here, sweetie pie. What a good boy.
They recorded the quotes that he had to say, and they played it back for dogs to listen. Dogs ranging from puppies to older dogs. And two pieces of information stood out from this study. Number one, we don't really control our dog voice. When people were showed pictures of puppies and older dogs, spontaneously they started using this dog directed voice. You know what I'm talking about. And the second piece of information is that dogs that were hearing those dog directed voices versus dogs that were hearing normal adult voices reacted differently. They were more attracted to the speaker that was diffusing that voice. Although puppies showed the biggest engagement with the speaker in comparison to older dogs. Dogs associate this dog-directed voice with pets, with being petted, with affection from their owner, and as they get older, they form this special bond between them and their owner, and they're not really attracted to other strangers, or not as easily. They're more loyal and trusting to their owner. Whereas puppies are just like forming, right? It's their upbringing, so they are a bit more eclectic. And it's not very surprising because it isn't a voice that we use specifically toward dogs. Again, there's two main explanations behind that. There's the learning theory and the baby schema. So we would talk to dogs this way because dogs don't speak, and we know that subconsciously. And we would accommodate them by speaking slower, by making our speech more expressive, and all that sort of stuff. And the baby schema tells us that because we see that dogs or puppies, younger dogs have juvenile traits, we see that they're young. It reminds us of babies, and we take our baby-directed voice. And that voice we use that voice, it has evolved to accommodate babies, to teach them how to speak. But that second theory holds up a little bit less because we still use that kind of voice towards older dogs. And this dog voice, we don't just use it for them, we also use it for us to some extent. It affects us as well. There is this principle in psychology that I love to the bone. State dependency learning. This principle tells us that if you learn something in a certain context, in a certain state, you will remember that thing better or that skill better when you are also in that state. So when we hang out with our dog, when we spend time around it, we are in contact with it, we pet it, we make eye contact with our dog, we produce oxytocin, which is the love/bond hormone. And surprising fact, they also produce a lot of oxytocin, and they have amongst the higher density of oxytocin receptors in the animal kingdom in their brain. The point is that you feel good. So you associate that feel good thing with the voice because you tend to use it anyway. So anytime you see your dog, you just come in that state of madness and you start using that ridiculous voice again. Taking that voice makes us feel good, and when we feel good, we take that voice, and it's kind of like a virtuous cycle. And with all that time spent around us, those thousands and thousands of years, they changed a little bit. They evolved to help us better, to protect us, to serve us. Humans own dogs, but it really is a two-sided relationship. Even if they're not physically like us, they play such an important role in our society. I mean, they help solve crime, they help us detect certain diseases and cancers. And for the main part, they just give us purpose. They give us something to look after, something to take care of, and something that is incredibly social and affectionate. Although we're not sure how and why humans domesticated wild dogs, I'm grateful they did.